Welcome to the University of Windsor Writing Support Desk's workshop on transitions. This is part one of a series of 3, and today we'll be looking at types of transitions as well as an introduction to transitions and how they work. The other 2 parts of the transition workshop series will be on the functions of transitions as well as alternatives to transitions. Let's get started. Transitions are words or phrases that establish logical connections between other words, phrases, and paragraphs. They can help improve the flow of a piece of writing, and they can act as bridges from one idea to another. Overall, we're helping readers understand how ideas in our work relate to one another. This is the real function of transitions. So let's take a look at an example of a paragraph that does not effectively use transitions, and then we'll take a look at how we can fix it. Betty and Archie were friends. Betty wanted more. Veronica moved to town. Archie only had eyes for her. Betty was upset. She and Veronica became friends. Betty fell for Jughead. They solved several crimes together. They caught a murderer. Betty worried she had feelings for Archie. So just reading that out loud, we can see that it's a little bit choppy and we don't have those logical connections between the sentences. So let's take a look at how we could improve it. At first, Betty and Archie were friends, but Betty wanted more. However, when Veronica moved to town, Archie only had eyes for her. Although Betty was upset, over time she and Veronica became friends. Later, Betty fell for Jughead, and they solved several crimes together. For example, they caught a murderer. Nevertheless, Betty worried she still had feelings for Archie. So just by adding a few transition words and phrases here and there, we've not only made the writing flow more smoothly, but we've developed those logical connections between the sentences. And that's the function of transitions that we'll be looking at. So this part of the workshop is going to focus on different types of transitions. The 3 we'll be looking at are adverbs and adverbial phrases, prepositions and prepositional phrases, and conjunctions. So to begin with adverbs and adverbial phrases, we'll see some examples in the graphic on the left: likewise, nonetheless, otherwise, still, next. You'll notice that these are words that modify verbs, and they can also modify adjectives or other adverbs. You'll typically see these starting a sentence followed by a comma. So here are some examples. Nevertheless, comma, Betty worried. At first, comma, Betty and Archie. So these are words that begin our sentences, they set the tone for the rest of the sentence, and they provide a little bit of context to relate the sentence to the sentence that came before. Looking at prepositions and prepositional phrases, so again, some examples on the left there: in, from, of, on. They come before a noun, and we can see that prefix pre in the word preposition, meaning to come before. Their function is to highlight the position of that noun to another noun. So they're establishing relationships there. For example, in March of 2020, during the Cold War, at work, or for several reasons. The other type of transition we're going to look at is conjunctions, and these can be separated into 3 different categories: coordinating, subordinating, and correlating conjunctions. The first type we'll look at are coordinating conjunctions, and these give equal weight to ideas. If you need a way to remember that, you can think about the word coordinate and maybe a coordinated outfit where everything is balanced. We use coordinating conjunctions to form compound sentences by combining independent clauses. These are types of clauses that could stand on their own as a sentence. And we go into much more detail about sentence structure, including compound sentences and coordinating conjunctions, in the Writing Support Desk sentence structure workshop. So for more details, you can check that out. The other thing to remember about coordinating conjunctions and how we form a compound sentence with them, that we need to introduce them with a comma. The coordinating conjunctions are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And you'll see down the left that spells out fanboys. So that's an easy way to remember those coordinating conjunctions. So let's take a look at an example here. We have an independent clause here. Lee prefers to watch soccer. And another independent clause, Amir thinks tennis is a more interesting sport. So independent clause number 1 plus independent clause number 2, how do we add them together? With a coordinating conjunction, which is one of those fanboys conjunction, and this one is but. And you'll notice here that we have a comma as well with our coordinating conjunction. And all of this together forms a compound sentence. Lee prefers to watch soccer, but Amir thinks tennis is a more interesting sport. We're showing that contrast between their opinions with the coordinating conjunction but as our transition. When we use subordinating conjunctions as our transitions, they function a little bit differently depending on their placement in the sentence, whether they're preceding or concluding. So for example, in the preceding position, if I miss the bus, I will be late for work. So we start with the subordinating conjunction if. We have that subordinate clause, if I miss the bus, followed by a comma, and then an independent clause, I will be late for work. If we flip the order, it looks like this. I will be late for work if I miss the bus. You'll notice that these are the same clauses as in the prior example, we've just changed the order. We also don't have the comma anymore because when we have that subordinating conjunction, if, in the middle of our sentence as opposed to at the beginning, we don't need a comma to separate those clauses. If you want more information about subordinating conjunctions and forming complex sentences with them, again, I would recommend checking out our sentence structure workshop. Finally, correlating conjunctions link pairs of words and frame them as equally important. So these are either or, neither nor, whether or, just as, so, as, and no sooner than. These are examples of correlating conjunctions, so they come in pairs. So as an example of how these correlating conjunctions work, we have a quote from Romeo and Juliet. Either thou or I or both must go with him. So we're using that pair of words, either or, to give equal weight. So in summary, so far we've looked at types of transitions. In the next part of the workshop, we'll look at functions of transitions, and in the third portion, alternatives to transitions. So today we covered adverbs and adverbial phrases, prepositions and prepositional phrases, and conjunctions, including coordinating, subordinating, and correlating conjunctions. And all of this should set us up for the next part of the workshop, where we will be looking at how to use transitions to discuss sequential, temporal, spatial, and logical relationships. If you have questions, feel free to check out the resources on the Writing Support Blackboard page, or book a consultation via My Success with a Writing Support Advisor. We're also available via email at writingsupport@uwindsor.ca if you require any additional assistance. Thanks for listening and have a great day.